Season 4 of The Dragon Prince, which we've all been waiting for a very long time, has finally a release date. That is November 2022, or exactly 3 years, give or take a couple days, from when Season 3 of The Dragon Prince was released, all the way back in November 2019. After all the waiting and agonizing and worrying, this feels strange. And it felt stranger, almost, to see a clip of the first episode of Season 4 of The Dragon Prince. It was like looking into some strange, dreamy fantasia. I was not expecting to be as enthusiastic as I was. I thought I'd gotten a bit callous and cynical waiting all those years, and I did, but when I saw that clip, all my old enthusiasm and passion came rushing back as strong as ever. It was like catching a glimpse into a mystical, forbidden world. Now let's take a couple seconds to allow our systems to settle down a bit after that exhilarating presentation at SDCC. I'm recording this the day after, and I'm still a little jumpy. Still feel my nerves jumping around quite a bit. I'm a bit frazzled, because that was just so exhilarating. So let's take a few deep breaths. Three, two, one. Let's dig into what we saw in this new clip and what it tells us about the direction Season 4 is going to take going forward. For such a short clip, it provided us with quite a bit of information that not only set the stage for what Season 4 would be, but completely recontextualized the last scene we saw in Season 3. In that last scene, we saw Claudia revive Viren from the veil that separates the living from the dead. We know that she made significant sacrifices in order to resurrect Viren. We know these sacrifices both required a lot of time and effort, and also sacrificed a good deal of what morality she had left, sending her plunging into the dark path that I doubt she will turn back from for a while. Especially considering that Aaravos is the only being to which she can turn now. What we did not know until we saw this first clip of Season 4 is that Viren was not dead for 2 days or so. He was dead for 2 years. That completely recontextualizes Claudia's mission to save her father. For 2 years she was hiding out in and around that cave with seemingly no other companions, struggling to bring her father back. That implies a level of devotion to that singular goal that is almost maniacal. It's a bit terrifying for what it says about Claudia's moral decay, that she is willing to go through such an arduous process and make so many sacrifices in order to bring back her admittedly horrible father. I love Viren as a character, but he was not a great father to both of them. And yet Claudia is willing to completely throw all other aspects of her life away just to try and bring him back. That suggests a complete detachment from the normal order of society that she was so happy to operate within for the first couple seasons. She's a dark witch now, existing on the margins, in the shadowed cracks and crevices of the world, planning her vengeance and her retribution, doing whatever it takes to bring her father back from the dead. And what does it take? A lot of us saw that boot of the enemy soldier hanging out of the cave that suggests that Claudia might have sacrificed him in order to bring Viren back. But that was when we thought only a couple days had passed between when Viren died and when he was brought back. If it's significantly longer than that, how many of those sacrifices did Claudia have to make? I'm not sure the show will go explicit on, say, Claudia having to kill a lot of people to bring him back, but Claudia has certainly crossed a horizon from which there is no going back. I am not saying that she is on an unstoppable path toward darkness and dissolution. It is possible she might come back to the light by the end of the show, but it is not going to be an easy path, and even if she does make a turn back toward morality and justice and compassion, she's not going to be the same person. She's never going to be that dorky, nerdy, optimistic kid who always told lame jokes. She's going to be a broken person. The occult and macabre have become her environment, and that's a bit disconcerting to think about. As for Callum, he has been embarking on his own path that leads him far away from where Claudia is, but is it also a path that's led him far away from Rayla? It certainly seems like it. Rayla leaves not soon after the end of Season 3. We know that Callum is almost 15 for most of the show in its first 3 seasons, and we know that Rayla decides to leave in order to protect him and look for Viren herself on Callum's 15th birthday. That means that in all, he knew Rayla for only a couple months, and he has been without Rayla for a couple years. He's about 17 now, and he has not seen Rayla since before he turned 15 years old. That means that Callum likely has a different view of his relationship with Rayla than we, the audience, do, unfortunately. For us, Callum and Rayla's relationship is this paradigm-defining bond. They started out a bit frosty and uncertain about each other, especially on Rayla's end, and then over time she learned to open up, she learned to trust him. She learned to trust herself and allow her instincts, her genuine moral tendencies toward compassion and peace to really shine through instead of trying to disguise those tendencies under this elven determination to vanquish all humans she considered antagonistic toward the goals and ambitions of the elves. She viewed humans as being selfish, greedy, and materialistic, which isn't wrong, but it's not like the elves are much better. They're obsessed with duty and honor, and these abstract concepts are more important, apparently, than individual lives, as we see in Blood Moon Huntress, when Rayla's parents, knowing that it might be a few years before they see their daughter again, even if the mission went well, which of course it didn't, they still decide to go protect the dragon's egg. Rayla has become more open to different perspectives. What started off as a rather rigid and practical relationship between her and Callum developed into this glorious burning fire that was mutually beneficial to the well-being of them both. But for both of them, that's all in the past. For Callum, Rayla is likely a vague memory. That might be a difficult thought for a lot of us to consider, especially if we do love the bond they've built together. But think about it. If you met a romantic partner when you were 14, almost 15, spent a couple months with them, and then didn't see them again until you were 17, would you be constantly fixated on them? Would you be obsessed with them and always be dreaming of seeing them again? Maybe, but more than likely not. The time they've spent apart seems to be far greater than the time they've spent together. It most certainly hurt Callum deeply when Rayla left, but that wound has probably healed over time. He might be a little cynical and embittered when someone mentions Rayla around him, which will strike us as a bit strange because the last episode we saw of them, back in season 3, he saved her life, and their bond was this beautiful, elegant, rapturous thing. But it's different now, and we need to account for that. Callum is also a high mage. He is basically the Viren to Ezrin's King Harrow, both in terms of being a skilled and learned tactician and being a sage person to rely on for advice. Even his hair looks a little like Viren's, which might just be a strange coincidence, but considering that he seems to be getting obsessed with the same Aaravos mirror that consumed Viren's basic sense of morality, I think we should be a little worried about Callum going forward. It's probably going to be a darker season when we get to season 4. All our beautiful, fantastic conclusions might be undone, and we might be left with a lot more uncertainty than I think a lot of us anticipate heading in to the second half of the show. But I'm excited. It's going to be wonderful to have the show back, even if it undoes a lot of our expectations of what it would do based on the first 3 seasons. So thank y'all for watching. If you liked what you saw today, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Donate to my Patreon if you can, and you want to see more videos like this. Keep watching The Dragon Prince. Do you have any thoughts about Callum's hair? Do you have any thoughts about the time skip? Write them down in the comments below. Anyway, tune in soon for the next analysis. We'll be coming soon. Promise you that. Thank you all again. Adios, comrades.